Hello and welcome to episode 2 of WNBA Digest. This week we're talking about week 2 of the WNBA. And it's June 1st, which means it's happy Pride to one of the gayest leagues in the world. You can tell I just came back from Beyonce, so I'm acting out. All right, last week we talked about that there were 3 winless teams still: Chicago Sky, Connecticut Sun, and the Dallas Wings. And as luck would have it, on Tuesday, the Dallas Wings and the Connecticut Sun would face off. This game would serve as number 1 pick Paige Bueckers' return to the state of Connecticut. Now, Paige did play for UConn and won a national championship there, so obviously she was welcomed back very warmly. Some of her old teammates were there to support her. This also would mark DeJounte Carrington's return to her old team, the Connecticut Sun. DeJounte was drafted to the Connecticut Sun in 2021. She played there for 4 seasons, and most recently last year won Most Improved Player while playing there until she was traded to the Dallas Wings this off-season. This would also serve as Ty Harris's return, who spent her last 2 seasons there. The Dallas Wings would wind up victorious. Paige had herself an incredible game, as did DeJounte.
Carrington, nice move to the basket, DeJounte.
Now, there were other return games this week. We had Jewell Loyd, who plays for the Las Vegas Aces, return to the Seattle Storm. Jewell Loyd was drafted to the Seattle Storm number 1 in 2015. She spent 10 seasons there, and in her 10 seasons, she won many accolades, including Rookie of the Year, and she won 2 championships with the Seattle Storm. So naturally, she was welcomed back very warmly by her old teammates as well as fans in the arena. Jewell started off the game hot and went 4 of 5 on her first 5 shots. However, she would go 0 for 10 in the rest of the game, and the Las Vegas Aces would lose to the Seattle Storm by 20 points. But lucky for the Aces, they would face off again June 1st, 1 week later, and they would be victorious. Kayla Thornton of the Golden State Valkyries would return to the New York Liberty this week as well. The New York Liberty would present Kayla with her championship ring, and the Liberty would go on to beat the Valkyries. Kayla had 13 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 steals. Finally, Kelsey Plum would return to the Las Vegas Aces on her new team, the Los Angeles Sparks. Now, Kelsey Plum was originally drafted to the San Antonio Stars in 2017 as a number 1 pick. Then they relocated to the Las Vegas Aces, where she would become a cornerstone in their core 4 that would go on to win 2 championships back-to-back in 2022 and 2023.
Kelsey Plum!
However, last season, she was asked to be traded and was traded to the Los Angeles Sparks. Knowing her history with the team, she was welcomed back very warmly by both fans in the arena, staff, and players.
She's a machine. KP is a machine.
The Aces did, however, go on to beat the Sparks. Now, a look at how the rookies are doing. The rookies of the class of 2025 have survived preseason in their first 2 weeks of the WNBA, so it's safe to say they've had their share of welcome to the league moments. Here are some of my favorites. Paige getting elbowed in a preseason game versus the Aces by Jackie, where they were playing at Notre Dame, and DeJounte, her teammate, just going, "You good?" Sonia running into a hard screen by Brittany Griner and just laying flat. Later on in the day, when she was in her car, she still had it up on her screen. Tahina Papau also running into a hard screen, but the person behind it for her was Natasha Howard. But this class is tough, and even though they've had their share of welcome to the league moments, they're also giving it to the veterans, rightfully so. We have Saniya Rivers getting a block on Chelsea Gray.
Gray pouncing. Oh, Rivers with the block.
Kiki Td Up going for a ball and shoving Sophie Cunningham.
He's right there saying, "Don't you do that." She's telling the rookie right now.
Kiki also got her first tech.
Area fan driving and scoring on the break. Area fan and AT.
As did her teammate Sonia Citron.
Oh no, it's on Citron, so they tee up the rook.
Because it's never too early to start pissing off refs and getting technicals. Ain't that right, Paige? She didn't get a technical, but she did let the refs know that a player was traveling.
Hey, this team travels every time she touches it.
Have no fear, Diana Taurasi. Your legacy is still alive.
Taurasi has just earned herself a technical.
Paige also elbowed Nneka, to which Nneka responded perfectly.
You are never too young or too old to be welcomed to the W. I'm here to roll with the big dogs. It's the best league in the world. So I accept this with pride.
But outside of the welcome to the league shenanigan, these rookies are also playing hard, playing well, and breaking their own records, okay? We have players leading in steals and blocks, players recording double-doubles for the first time in their franchise histories, averaging double-doubles, being the fastest to achieve those feats. We have teams that have multiple rookies scoring threes, teams that have rookies coming off the bench and making quick impact and making quick buckets.
Loyd Malonga, beautiful.
We also have had rookies that were prior teammates facing off against each other, and it's just been really fun to watch. I feel like a lot of people made this draft seem like it was Paige or bust, but it's clear that these rookies came to play, and after 4 or 5 years of college, they're all really solid, and I can't wait to see what they do and how much they impact this game in the coming months. Speaking of records, some veteran players have been breaking records in their own right. Nneka Ogwumike passed Candace Parker, my goat, for 9th all-time on the points list, as well as Katie Douglas for 9th all-times on the steals list. A'ja Wilson passed Elizabeth Williams for 10th all-time on the block list, and A'ja became the 6th player in WNBA history with a career 100 double-doubles. Speaking of double-doubles, Alyssa Thomas passes Rebecca Brunson for 10th all-time on the double-doubles list. Arike Ogunbowale tied Diana Taurasi for the fastest player to reach 500 career three-pointers made. Caitlin Clark broke the record for most games with 25 points and 10 assists in only 42 games with 6. DeWanna Bonner passed Tina Thompson for 8th all-time on the rebounding list. And finally, we gotta talk about Courtney Vandersloot. Now, if you watched the pod last week, you know how I feel about Courtney Vandersloot and her wife, Allie Quigley. Happy Pride. Courtney Vandersloot made history last week. So Courtney became the leading scorer of the Chicago Sky, and the player that she passed to become the leading scorer was none other than her wife, Allie Quigley. So here's the basket that she made to make her the leading scorer, and here's Allie in the audience cheering her on, or maybe slightly mad, but she was probably definitely cheering her on. When we made this podcast, I did not think it would become a stan account for the Vanderquigs, but I'm okay if it does, because yet again, it's June and it's Pride. Now, this was the game that got the Chicago Sky their first win, so they are on the board. Additionally, the Connecticut Sun also got a win last week versus the Indiana Fever. Now, this game would be against their former coach, Stephanie White, as well as a former teammate, DeWanna Bonner, who used to play on the Connecticut Sun and also is on the Fever, which means that every single team in the WNBA now has a win. So let's look at the standings. Up top, as you would have guessed, we have the Liberty and the Minnesota Lynx. The two teams that were in the finals last year are picking up where they left off, both still undefeated. Now, unfortunately, these two teams don't play until later in the summer because I would really love for them to play now and have a true undefeated go, but time will tell. We also have a couple of other teams on a winning streak. We have the Atlanta Dream, the Chicago Sky, and the Las Vegas Aces that have each won at least 2 games. Meanwhile, we do have some teams that are on a losing streak. We have the Dallas Wings, the Los Angeles Sparks, the Indiana Fever, the Golden State Valkyries, and the Seattle Storm. Now, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention that injuries are playing some role in this. So let's talk about the injuries that have been plaguing the league this last week and have impacted it. First up, we have the Indiana Fever, who has been struggling with their guards. We have Caitlin Clark, Sid Colson, and Sophie Cunningham that have sustained leg injuries of some sort and are now out for various lengths of time. I would not be surprised if the Indiana Fever pick up someone off the waiver wire and sign a hardship contract. Speaking of hardship contracts, the Phoenix Mercury just signed Haley Jones to a hardship contract, which makes sense because they currently have 3 of their stars out. We have Natasha Mack, Kalia Copper, and Alyssa Thomas that are on the injury report this week and probably next. And finally, on the Dallas Wings, Paige is in concussion protocol. But we have had some players come back. So speaking of concussion protocol, we have Rickea Jackson of the Los Angeles Sparks out of concussion protocol and returned. However, she's out for personal reasons, but hopefully when she gets back, she'll be able to play. Shakira Austin was also in concussion protocol for the Washington Mystics. She's back, as well as Aaliyah Edwards. Tiffany Hayes, who we talked about last week, who had broke her nose, is back with the Golden State Valkyries. Kayla McBride, who plays for the Minnesota Lynx and was out for personal reasons, has rejoined the team. And finally, Jordan Canada, who had sustained a leg injury in preseason, recently tweeted that she's going to be back soon. So hopefully she joins the Dream, who have been hooping. And finally, it's my favorite segment, one sentence about every team to recap this last week of the W. Atlanta Dream. I don't own any goggles, but Alicia Gray supremacy, all right? Chicago Sky, okay, 2 wins. Connecticut Sun, okay, 1 win. Dallas Wings, okay, 1 win. Keep it up. Golden State Valkyries, the scheduling gods have not been kind to y'all, so honestly, I'm gonna let y'all live. Indiana Fever, sign a guard to a hardship contract. Las Vegas Aces. Nice bounce back wins, but I need y'all to get it together. Los Angeles Sparks. Honestly, y'all aren't even fully healthy, so I'm also gonna let y'all live for right now. New York Liberty. Kicking ass and taking names. Shit's unfair. Phoenix Mercury. Okay, defense. Okay, bench. Okay, rookies. Prove me wrong. Seattle Storm. 3-game losing streak? That's that shit I don't like. Minnesota Lynx. Kayla back. Washington Mystics. Salute to Coach Sydney Johnson that's clearly turned the culture around here and has his team hooping, win or lose. This has been another episode of WNBA Digest. Click the button to subscribe. We'll be back next week with a recap of week 3. Happy Pride!